Picture this. You're walking alone at night. The streetlights flicker. You hear a branch snap somewhere behind you, and every hair on your arm stands up. You tell yourself it's nothing, but your body doesn't believe you. Your heart is already pounding. Your eyes are already scanning the shadows. You think this is irrational, a leftover glitch in your nervous system. But the real answer is far stranger. That fear was once the only thing standing between your ancestors and being eaten alive. For most of human history, you were not the apex predator. You were prey. Today you imagine early humans as fearless hunters, spears raised, chasing mammoths across open plains. That image feels true. It is mostly fiction. For millions of years before humans dominated any landscape, they were small, slow, and weak compared to the animals around them. No claws, no fangs, no fur thick enough to survive a cold night exposed. Just soft skin, a fragile spine, and a brain that was only beginning to become useful. So how did something this vulnerable survive? Anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman spent years studying this exact question. Their research, compiled in their work on early hominin predation, found something unsettling. Fossil evidence from sites across Africa shows bite marks, puncture wounds, and skeletal damage consistent with big cats, hyenas, and birds of prey. Not occasionally, repeatedly. Early humans were not occasional victims of predators. They were a regular part of the food chain. A snack-sized hominin, slow on two legs, with no natural weapons, was exactly the kind of prey large carnivores were built to catch. This changes the story completely. You weren't born to hunt. You were born to avoid being hunted. And that single fact may explain more about your brain today than almost anything else. Think about your fear of the dark. Think about the unease you feel in tall grass, or the flinch you get when something moves fast at the edge of your vision. These are not random. Paleoanthropologist Lynn Isbell proposed something called the snake detection theory. Her research suggests that primates, including early humans, developed unusually sharp visual systems specifically tuned to detect snakes faster than almost any other shape. Why snakes? Because for millions of years, venomous snakes were a constant, near-invisible threat, a predator you couldn't outrun, only avoid. Your eyes still do this today. Show a human a complex visual scene hidden with one curved, snake-like shape, and the brain locks onto it almost instantly. Faster than it spots a flower, a rock, or even a human face. You were trained by death to be fast. Not by classrooms, not by instinct alone, by generations of ancestors who didn't notice in time. But avoiding predators wasn't enough. Early humans needed strategy. Curtis Marine, a paleoanthropologist who has spent decades studying early human survival in coastal and savanna environments, points to something crucial: group behavior. Alone, an early human was an easy kill. In a group, the math changed entirely. Predators evaluate risk before they attack. A lone target offers an easy meal. A group of alert, coordinated, loud, throwing creatures offers a much higher cost for a much smaller guarantee of success. This is why your ancestors didn't survive by being the strongest individual. They survived by becoming the most cooperative species on the planet. Have you ever wondered why humans are so obsessed with belonging? Why isolation feels almost physically painful? That ache isn't random either. For a creature with no claws and no fangs, being cast out of the group wasn't just lonely, it was often a death sentence. Your brain still treats social exclusion like a physical injury, because for an enormous stretch of human history, it basically was one. Fire changed the equation again. Once early humans controlled fire, the night stopped being purely deadly. Large predators that once stalked freely after dark suddenly had a reason to keep their distance. Light meant safety, heat meant warmth without exposure, and fire gave humans something even more powerful than protection. It gave them time. Time to sit together after dark, share stories, plan the next day's movements, and strengthen the social bonds that had already saved their lives 100 times before. This is also likely where storytelling itself began, not as art, as survival training disguised as conversation. Throwing weapons mattered too. Unlike most predators, early humans developed an extraordinary, almost unmatched ability to throw objects with speed and precision. A lion doesn't need to throw anything. Its body is the weapon. But a human, weak in a direct physical confrontation, could hurl a rock or a sharpened stick from a distance a predator couldn't immediately close. This single skill, refined over countless generations, turned humans from passive prey into something predators had to think twice about. Notice the pattern here. Every survival advantage early humans had wasn't physical. It was behavioral. Group cohesion, Fire control, tool use, long-range throwing, strategic thinking under threat. None of these came from claws or speed. They came from a brain slowly being shaped, generation after generation, by the simple, brutal fact that the slow and the careless didn't get to pass on their genes. So when you feel that prickling sense that something is watching you in the dark, you are not malfunctioning, you are remembering. When you feel safer in a group than alone at night, that is not anxiety. That is ancient math your body still trusts. When you flinch at a fast, curved shadow before your conscious mind even registers what it was, that is not paranoia. That is a visual system built by millions of years of near misses. Modern life has removed almost every predator that shaped you. There are no lions stalking your morning commute, no hyenas circling your apartment building, and yet the architecture built to detect them is still fully online, still scanning, still occasionally firing off warnings about threats that no longer exist. This is why a sudden loud noise at home, even when you're completely safe, can trigger a flood of adrenaline you can't fully explain. Your body isn't reacting to your actual life, it's reacting to the life your ancestors barely survived. There is something strangely grounding in this. You are not weak for feeling fear in the dark. You are not irrational for craving connection, or uneasy in isolation, or hyper-aware of motion at the edge of your vision. You are carrying forward a system that worked. A system refined across an almost unimaginable number of close calls, narrow escapes, and quiet deaths that taught the survivors exactly what to fear and exactly who to stay close to. So the next time a branch snaps behind you in the dark and your whole body goes alert before your mind even catches up, remember this. That feeling isn't a flaw in your design. It's the oldest, most battle-tested alarm system on Earth. And for millions of years, it was the only thing standing between your ancestors and being eaten alive.